Hey traders, my name's Dale and I hope your trading's going well. I'm doing this little video here to show you some tools that I've made for MT4 and MT5. Due to popular demand, people have been requesting that I give a trial version out of these tools, which I've just done. So if you like any of the tools I'm going to be talking about here, you're welcome to download a trial pack in the button below. I'm going to be talking about my trade panel for MT4 and MT5. That's a very popular tool. I'm going to be talking about my custom chart builder, which is a really cool tool for MT4. And I've also got a market analytics plugin for MT4 and MT5, which is kind of a new project. So if you want to try any of these, you're welcome to download a trial pack below. So yeah, let's get started. I'm just going to walk through each tool one by one, explain basically what they do and give you a quick overview of how they work. Alright, so here's my trade panel, probably one of my most popular tools here, because it's actually designed to make trade placement very easy, and it's got, you can see a lot of different options here. Don't be intimidated by all the different drop down boxes or anything like that. Just by its current default state, it's pretty easy to use. So you just look at the different sections, entry options, where you want your stop loss, target, risk settings. Pretty much everything that goes into a trade placement is on this panel. And then basically once you're happy with your trade settings, you just hit the buy or the sell button quite simply to do either transaction. So in our entry strategies here, we have the retracement entry, and you can target a specific candle where you want to target a certain percentage of its range. So a common one is a 50% retracement entry. We've also got the breakout entry built in for a target candle. So we select which target candle we want to take the breakout of, either the high or the low. Obviously, if you press buy, it will target breakout to the high, and sell will put an order below the candle low. And we can also wait for a session as well. If we don't want the order to be placed before a certain session, we can also select that here. We've got a manual entry price, which is quite self-explanatory. We can enter at the market, so if we just want to go straight in, we can do that. And get me in the damn trade, because it's like an OCO order. And what it's designed to do is do both a breakout entry and a retracement entry on a candle, and whichever one is hit first, then that order will remain and the other one will get deleted. So for example, we've got a retracement entry. Let's say for the current candle, which would be candle 0, we want to take a 50% retracement on the current candle. We could just say hit sell, and you can see that it's set up the order very quickly. It's set up a sell limit right on the 50% mark of the current candle, which is candle 0 here, and that's basically how easy it is. So let me just walk you through some of the other options. I'll just show you a breakout entry. Let's say we want to take a breakout of the previous candle high, so that would be up here. We just select candle 1 with a breakout entry, hit buy, and there it is. Okay, very easy. You can see that as soon as you set up your options and you press buy or sell, it will just do it. So stop loss options, quite simple. What I've been using just here is the candle high low stop loss. So whatever candle you target here, it will basically put the stop loss on the other end of that. And you can add pips to your stop loss here as well if you want to. We've got a manual stop loss price if you want to enter the stop loss manually, or the volatility stop loss, which is a really cool one. It uses the average trading range, and we can set our average trading range value and select a multiple of that. So let's just say I want my stop loss. Let's enter at the market. So if we enter at market, we're going to go straight in with a sell, and we want our stop loss to be the average trading range of 20 period. So we select sell, and there it is. So that distance right there, okay, that's going to be your average trading range. And obviously, if we double that and do it again, which will get twice that, okay? And you can play around with the number here as well. So we could say I want 10, okay, and then sell, okay, and it's going to give you a slightly different figure there. So you can see that working nicely. Moving along to our target. So very popular target is risk reward ratio. So whatever your stop loss and your entry price distance is. So if we just go back and just do, say, a breakout. So breakout, previous candle high, volatility stop loss, buy that. Okay, so whatever this distance is here, that's your risk. Okay, that's our risk, and our reward target is going to be times 3 of that. So this target is set 3 times this here. Okay, very common strategy for targets. What else do we have? That's basically it for targets. We can either enter a manual price. I don't really have any other ideas here for this at this stage, but we can also add more if someone submits a good idea. Now, risk settings is another reason why this panel is very popular, because nobody wants to do lot size calculations. Nobody wants to figure out the percentage of their account, and convert that into a lot size by punching all numbers into a spreadsheet or an online form. The panel just does it for you. So firstly, you can select account percentage. So you say you want to risk 2% of your capital into a trade. You put that here, and it even handily tells you what that calculated risk is going to be. So it's going to risk $371.21 into a trade. But we can also say we want to risk a certain dollar amount into a trade as well. So you could say, all right, I just want to risk $500, and it will do that for you. This broker tick value override stuff, you don't need to worry about that now. That's just to confirm that the chart is returning back the right values to calculate the lot sizing. And that's basically it. So if we put $500 in, let's say we want to risk 6 times, and we'll clear this trade out here, and we'll do another breakout entry. Let's just say I want the 40 period average trading range, times 1, hit buy. Okay, and you can see all these different trade configurations. You can do them quite quickly, and the panel just places the trade for you, does all the behind the scenes calculations and everything for you. Alright, so they're basically the options that you're required to put in: your entry, stop loss, and your target, and your risk settings for your trade. We've also got some advanced options here as well. Typically, what you would like a tool like this to do for you is do some cool trailing stops, which it certainly does. We can trail by a few different things here. We can trail by that risk reward ratio. So whatever your initial risk was on that trade, it will actually trail by that. So you can set that value there. Trail by the candlestick high or low. And there's a few options here as well. You tick that if you want the market to trail on inside candles, but if you leave it alone, it won't trail on inside candles at all. And we can also say we only want to trail in candles that are closing in the trade direction. So it will only trail on bullish candles if you're long, only trail on bearish candles if you're short. Trail by EMA, very self-explanatory. You put your EMA value in there. Trail by volatility, which is a cool one. Again, using the average trading range period. So you put that up to something like 20, and then a multiple of that, and it will actually trail, just like the volatility stop loss I showed you before, that kind of distance that it creates from the average trading range. You can do that with the trailing stop. The really cool thing about trailing by volatility, or the ATR, is it's a dynamic stop loss. So when the market's very quiet and you've got very thin candles and short-ranged candles, the stop loss will be very tight. But when the market actually expands and you start getting big candles and more volatility entering the market, the trailing stop loss will actually widen. So it's like a trailing stop that tailors to market conditions. And trail by channel, which is the Donchian channel that the famous turtle traders use, we can trail by that channel as well. We have move to break even. Okay, so we can move to break even under these conditions when we get a reward achieved. Again, that's that risk reward ratio. So if we want to move to break even when our risk reward hits that 1 target, we can certainly do that, and it will automatically take care of that for you. Or pips achieved. Some people just like to move to break even when you hit 50 pips or something like that. The way that the panel will work with this is, if a trade is very simple and it doesn't need any kind of monitoring, then you can close the panel down. But if you're doing trailing stops or anything like that, then what you would have to do is leave the panel open so it can babysit that. For example, we'll put a trailing stop on, we'll do it by volatility, and we'll click buy. And what actually happens now is it goes into the trade monitor, and it shows you that this trade is being monitored for a trailing stop. Okay, so when a trade is in the trade monitor, that means the panel's kind of like, it's babysitting it, it's monitoring it, and it's going to keep updating that trailing stop for us. Now, if we try to close the panel while it's monitoring a trade, you're going to get this message, whoa, you sure you want to do that? And if we click yes, we do, and accidentally close down the panel, or we get a power outage or something like that, and then we just open it back up again, it will tell us that it restored the trade, and basically it remembers what it was doing. So we come back in and it resumes its trailing stop. Okay. And there's one other feature here, which is assign trade to group. So what this basically does is, you may have heard of OCO orders, which is like order cancels another order. This is my version of that. So you assign a trade to a group number. So let's say we have, for example, we'll do that breakout style trade again. We'll assign it to group 1. This only applies to pending orders, mind you. So let's just say we're on all different pairs. We'll open 3 of those. And you'll see they're all in the trade monitor here. So what's going to happen is, like I said, this is designed for when you're trading across different pairs usually. That's where it would be applicable. But you can see they've got their OCO number to group 1. So whenever one of these pending orders goes live, let's say this one goes live, then the rest get automatically deleted. So you can basically place a bunch of pending orders, assign them to a group number, and whenever one of those tickets gets filled in the group, then the rest get deleted, and you can number multiple groups as well, so you can get quite involved with it. So that's basically the trade panel, just a quick run through, my most popular tool, and it just makes placing trades really easy. We've got a version of MT5 for this as well, so I hope you enjoy it. Alright, so the next tool I want to show you is my custom chart builder for MT4. Basically, this will help you break the confines that MT4 puts you in. MT4 is a bit of a dinosaur and it's very restrictive. You've only got a limited amount of time frames, especially for a swing trader where you want access to other time frames and things like that. You can't do it, or you want to modify the candlesticks in some way. You're really locked into whatever the broker provides you and what time frames MT4 has, and that's it. But that was until now, until the custom chart builder was invented. And I'm very proud of this tool. It's taken a while to get it to where it is. A very difficult project. Let me show you what it can do. So if you want to make a new chart, we click new and we get a little pop-up box here. So we got a few different type of price action formats we can make here. Let's just start with a candlestick chart. We select the time frame we want in hours, so obviously 24 would be a daily chart. Let's do a time frame that MT4 doesn't have, which is the 8-hour chart. We've got some presets here on when the candlesticks should open and close. So we've got the New York close, so we can make an 8-hour New York close chart. So let's just add that. Let's do another one, a pound 8-hour, and look at this one. This is a London open chart. Where would you have ever seen anything like that? So that means if we, let's say, we'll do a daily chart. So on a daily chart, that would mean that the daily candles would open and close on the London Open. That's an idea I kind of had, and I kind of put it into the trade panel so people can experiment with that type of price action. I think that type of price action would be very applicable to breakout strategies and stuff. And we've also got the typical custom price action mediums here. The Renko charts, okay, let's just say a 35 pip Renko chart. If you're not sure what a Renko chart is, you can look that up, but most people do these days. We'll add that to the list. Heiken Ashi, again, you've got the same options here. We can make that London Open chart on the pound daily. We'll do an 8-hour version of that. So, what tool can make you an 8-hour Heiken Ashi chart that has candles that open and close on the London? Okay, that's why I'm very happy with this tool. I'm very proud of it. Now we can also do something really cool as well. I'm not sure if I've got enough history loaded in the background, which is very critical for this, but we can make our own baskets. What a basket is basically like, the US dollar index. That's a basket of all different major currencies put together to try and calculate what the US dollar is worth. But we can make our own. So let's say we want to make our own, I don't know, Australian dollar basket. And we'll basically put pairs into the basket that would emphasize what the Australian dollar is doing. You don't have to specifically emphasize on one currency, do whatever the hell you want, but for demonstration purposes, we'll do an Australian dollar one. So what I normally do with this is, if I want to make an Australian dollar orientated basket, I would make sure the Australian dollar is at the base part of I think it's the base part of the quote. So we have to invert that. True, and then we add that, and then it becomes the Australian dollar / euro. So we orientate the Australian dollar at the front, and let's say the Australian dollar US dollar, it's already at the front, so we don't have to invert it. And we'll just add one more, keep it simple, Aussie yen. Okay, so we add that. And again, we've still got all those options where we can modify the price action how we want. We'll just make it a daily New York close. We give the basket a name, so we can say, I'll just call it Australian dollar index, and then we add the chart. All right. So once we do that, that highlights one of the cool features of the panel, which is we've made a list of all these custom charts and different price action and whatnot, all from one tool and all one location. And we can generate these all from this panel. Usually you would need probably like 3 or 4 tools just to get some of these charts out. So before I continue, I just want to show you the Workspace feature. Really cool. If you've got a list and you use it regularly, you can save it. So I might save this as my custom list. We go OK, Workspace is saved, and that becomes my new workspace. And when I close and open the panel again, we can access that workspace and come back to what we were doing. But that's not only what the workspace will do. I'll show you in a minute. So once we've got this, I'm not sure how good this example is going to be, because again, you need history for this to work, because the chart builder uses like 1 minute and 1 hour data to build these things, especially that index. So let's give it a go. We'll build that. We'll build the list and see what happens. Okay, that happened fairly quickly. So the first thing you might notice is the tabs down here. If you've ever used a custom chart building tool, especially like Renko ones and that, these tabs will have very kind of ambiguous names where you don't even know what the hell you're doing. We've got a tab renaming feature, so you can easily see which custom chart is what, and you can identify it pretty quickly. You can see here pound Renko 35. Here's our Australian dollar index, and here's our London Open daily chart. So let's have a look. So this is the 8-hour chart for the Euro US dollar. So for swing traders, an 8-hour chart is a very nice chart to be looking at, but we haven't had access to it, or not easy access, in MT4 at least. MT5 has it, but it sucks that MT4 doesn't. But we can generate them now quite easily, and we can manipulate the candlesticks in different ways. So that's a nice 8-hour chart there. You can see that there's 8 hours difference between them. And the panel also calculates when the New York close should be and syncs that with the broker's time, so it auto calculates when the New York close, GMT time shift is and all that, so you don't have to worry about it. Let's have a look at the pound. This is the London Open chart. All right, so zoom in a bit. We can see that I think it was about 3.5 hours ago, so you can see the candle hasn't done much, and this was the previous session so that was the previous London Open, and we closed just recently on this London Open here. So really cool way to look at price action. Instead of looking at it from New York close to New York close, we're looking at it from London Open to London Open. Gives you a different perspective of the price action. Let's check out our Renko chart. Sometimes you'll get this little gapping kind of phenomenon here when you don't have the history updated. So that's one critical thing with the panel. You just got to have your history up to par. But you can see when it does have the history, it does generate really nice Renko charts, very clean. And the thing about the Renko charts is these are actually like real raw charts in MT4. If we apply an indicator, let's just put a moving average on. So I just applied a 10 moving average to the Renko chart. It's actually using the Renko candles to calculate that. So a lot of Renko chart builders don't actually make charts like this. They kind of draw Renko charts over the top of a candlestick chart, and when you add a moving average to that kind of situation, the moving average is going to use the price action underneath. So we've actually created a proper MT4 chart, and all the indicators and expert advisors and everything that you attach to this will use the Renko price action. One other thing you might notice is a lot of the other Renko chart builders out there, they don't update the Renko chart. Although these are classified as offline charts, we simulate them to be a live chart by continuously pushing new market data and new market ticks to the Renko chart and updating it. So you will see over here that the Renko chart is updating as new prices are coming into the market, and that's all done by the panel. So the panel is updating our entire list of custom charts with new ticks as they come into the market and keeping them updated. Here's our Heiken Ashi chart. Heiken Ashi is another type of popular price action medium, and you can see here again it's a real MT4 chart, so any indicators or anything that you attach to that will use the Heiken Ashi data, and you can see that if I apply the 10 moving average on there, it's going to be based off the Heiken Ashi data there. As you can see, if you put an expert advisor on here or any other indicator that you have, it's basically going to use the Heiken Ashi data, which is really important if you're into these kind of charts. And again, as new data comes in, they'll be updated to actually be simulated as live charts. So our Australian dollar index didn't work. Let me just pause the video and get the data on this so that it will actually generate, and I'll show you what it's like. All right, so I regenerated it. I don't think that it liked the space in the naming. I'll have to investigate that, but I renamed the chart without the space. And this is our Australian dollar, our little simple index that we made. We only had 3 charts in there, but as you can see, this is basically 3 symbols merged into one, orientated the way you like, and in this case, we've orientated it so that the Australian dollar basically stands out. So what it's basically kind of communicating through the price action is that the Australian dollar out of those 3 pairs is looking very strong. And of course, if you're actually making a serious Australian dollar basket, then you would add, the 7 or so Australian dollar pairs, orientate the Australian dollar in the front, or you can do it with any currency, New Zealand dollar basket if you want, a yen basket, you name it. You got all the customization there, and you can manipulate the pairs the way you need it, and you can even generate different types of custom price action for your basket as well. So that was a feature added in for some future projects for basket trading. Now the other cool thing about the Workspace is this. When you have custom charts, usually with, say, other tools that you've downloaded, third-party stuff or stuff that's floating around forums, this is a problem that I came across, and this is the fire that I wanted to put out when using custom charts in MT4. So we go to all the effort and place our support and resistance lines like the way we want them. Let's say got a couple of lines through there. Okay, the pound chart, I might have a, let's say, I had this trend line here. I like that trend line there. The Renko chart, let's just say we'll put the moving average back on there, add that back on. And the Heiken Ashi chart, we'll put another indicator on there. Let's just say, I don't know, we had some Bollinger Bands on the Heiken Ashi chart. And what we can actually do is we go back and save our workspace. All right. So yes, we want to save it. And then let's just say we close the panel down completely. All right. So we close our workstation down. Then we come back and we open the chart builder again. Our workspace is here. It reloads all our workspace. All right. Now, when we load it, all our levels are back. So there's our support lines that we marked on the Euro US dollar. There's our trend line. That moving average is still there. Okay, and the Bollinger Bands are still there as well. So not only is the Workspace saving our custom list for us, it's actually remembering all the indicators that we placed and their settings, and it would remember expert advisors as well, and the color templates as well. You can change the color template that you want. So if you have a specific template that you like, you can apply it in the list here, and it will actually apply that to the chart. And yeah, that's basically a roundup of the chart builder. So it's a pretty cool tool, pretty powerful if you're into kind of custom price action on MT4, and I hope you enjoy it. Alright guys, this is my market analytics indicator plugin for MT4 and MT5. I'm showing it to you on MT5 at the moment. I was inspired to make this because our war room member Erebus he's sharing a lot of currency meters and things like that in the war room and showing us his analysis with those, and I was quite interested by that. But some of the currency meters he's using, and what you would find on forums and stuff like that, I was looking at the algorithms. I wasn't really, I don't know, I wanted to try something different. So what I've basically done is created this currency strength meter that bases all of its calculations on price action. So most of the currency meters that you'll find on forums and things like that, they're just using like moving averages or percentage change of the day. Well, this one's actually using raw price action and doing lots of different calculations there to try and determine how strong a currency or pair is. So over here we have a leaderboard, and it's just basically giving us a global view of the market of what currency appears very strong and what one appears very weak. So if we go off this chart right here, the US dollar is very strong and the New Zealand dollar here is very weak. So if we went to the New Zealand dollar US dollar chart, we should find it very bearish. So if we can find it here, and you can see here that it has been quite bearish last few weeks here. So the leaderboard next to that is an actual strength and weakness kind of display by pair, and we can actually just see straight up at first glance euro US dollar seems to be very bearish. That might not match up to what's going on here exactly, because I'm using slightly different calculation here to just determine which pair is moving the most. But if we go to the euro US dollar chart, well, actually we'll go back to the New Zealand dollar. We can see here it's been very bearish, but in the local price action here it's kind of stalled a little bit. So if we go to the euro US dollar, you can see that it's basically on the move down. So that weighs more heavily into this this pair leaderboard here on which markets are moving. We got the US dollar yen coming up next, and you can see that is screaming higher as well. So that's coming in at number 2. So basically this is just giving you a really nice quick glance at what currencies are strong, what's weak, what's happening on what pairs, which pairs are lively. And if we have a look down here, we've actually got a historical view, which I found was pretty common with most of the tools out there. So I'll put a historical view in mine, and they're all color coded, which match up to the currency pairs up here. You can see the black line here, which is the US dollar, and you can see it's gained a lot of strength and basically maintained that strength there. And that brown line there is the New Zealand dollar. So we look back in history and we can see it was kind of sideways there. If you can kind of eyeball it, let me trace it out. Actually, it was a little weak, then it kind of became neutral, gained a little bit of strength, became very weak again, and then where does it go? It goes down here and just remains very weak. So you can get this historical view of what the currency has actually been doing. Has it been strong or weak in the past? You can see some nice oscillation movements here. You can see that the Australian dollar was very weak, but you can see it gained quite a bit of strength, and it's actually gaining strength this session as well. So if we actually go to the Australian New Zealand dollar chart, we should see a fair bit of movement, a little bit. This is over the last few days, so yeah, you can see that there's been quite a bit of movement here as well. So as the you're basically spotting divergence and convergence of the different currencies here in this meter. It does look like a little bit of spaghetti at the moment, but you just look at what you need to and you can sort of work it out. So like I said, it's a beta version, and it's got a lot of helpful data here, and I'm going to be testing this data. Hopefully in the next few months I'll apply it to things and see what happens and do some testing. But one thing you should know with this currency meter as well is it's time frame based. So whatever time frame we put it on, that's where it's going to do its calculations. So what's happening on the 1 hour chart is a lot different to what's happening on the daily chart. We're on the daily chart at the moment, so you're going to get this more stable kind of like trend strength meter kind of view with the daily chart. If we pop down to say like the 8 hour chart, you're going to get more of a swing trading intraday kind of data set here, where you're looking at more like medium term trends and what's happening on basically a smaller scale. But if we want more frequent updates, then we'd go to like the 1 hour chart, and sometimes you've got to flick back and forth to make sure all the data is loaded properly, and this will give you a more the data is going to come in a lot faster, and the movements are going to be more sensitive here. So you can see we've got a totally different sort of chart here based on the 1 hour leaderboard, and it's saying that the CAD yen is quite bullish on the hourly chart. So we'll have a quick look at that, and you can see it has been fairly bullish. So it's basically taking the lead for strength at the moment. Then the next one comes in, the CAD Swiss franc, then the pound CAD. So it's been pretty weak. So we'll just double check that, and you can see it's been very weak. All right, so yeah, this is basically the top 5 movers here. All right, and these will basically be what pairs are actually moving. Emphasize on the word moving. So if a chart is clearing into lower lows or high highs, that's going to weigh more in the calculation on this little leaderboard here. Whereas this is more just a currency strength by combining all the different charts together and trying to isolate, say, the CAD, the Aussie. Basically what the code does inside is it creates lots of different baskets, and then examines like an Aussie basket, US dollar basket, Euro basket, all individually, does the calculations to try and determine these numbers. You can see on the hourly, the CAD is very strong, it's the strongest currency according to the hourly time frame. And you can see, we're definitely getting 2 CAD pairs coming up on top there as well. And of course, the next one there is a CAD, but it's on the quote side of the symbol. So CAD strength here would mean the pound CAD is quite bearish. All right, so yeah, this is the market analytics tool. It's in an earlier phase of its project. Not sure where we're going to take this. Lots of different things we could do with this. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like to see, or we could do correlation and stuff on here. Just tons of stuff we could do, and update the user interface is kind of one thing that I have in mind. Just got to find the time to do it. But currently it's in beta, but the calculations that are spitting out these numbers are actually working quite well. So if you want to give this a try, you're welcome to try it in beta mode. Just as a little gift, there's no time period on this. So if you download the trial version of this, you've got unlimited use. There's no restrictions or anything like that. So hope you enjoy it, and give me your feedback on it. Give me your suggestions as I can implement those as development goes onwards.